In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this simple import script in FileMaker so that you can target a specific file in your desktop and automatically import the data into your database. Hey, welcome to another FileMaker beginner tutorial. My name is Sunny Chiu, and today we are going to work with import script in FileMaker. So if I open this sample file that I'll be working on, what we're going to learn today is two things. One, how you can use this native import feature in FileMaker. So basically you can import other external file into FileMaker using this option. And secondly, what I'm going to show you is the script that I just showed you just now, like where you have a button here that you can click and it will automatically sync the data within one of the file in your desktop and send it back to this database. Now, before I start, I just want to show you why this feature is so important. So let's get into my PowerPoint. So I want to start by exploring why I think this automated import is so important. Now, let's say you're running a business and there's likely a few areas of your business that use different software. For example, the accounting part, maybe you're going to use MYOB or QuickBooks or Xero, things like that. For the operation, you have other software, and for the administration, you have other types of software. Now, in a business like this, a lot of the time you will need to have some sort of way to really translate the data between each other. So you want to translate these Excel data maybe with the accounting data. And what most businesses do is that they use a manual entry method. So basically that means they have someone who manually copy and paste data from one place to another. Now, it's not super efficient because that's what I consider cognitive hard labor tasks, which is tasks that are very mindless and quite frankly waste of a lot of time and energy, and it's not bringing too much value to your business. And so what we want to do optimally is to build a FileMaker database that has all the data synced up perfectly. But of course, in real life, when you're trying to implement FileMaker to your business, it's not going to work so smoothly. You're probably going to go through the process of changing them step by step like this. Would be first the operation, and then the administration, and then the accounting part. So that means at some point in time, you're going to have your business partly done by FileMaker and partly done by something else. And at this point in time, you still want some way to have the data translating with each other. So the problem here is that if you go back to the original approach of manual entry, there's pretty much not a lot of benefit that this FileMaker database can bring you because it's not eliminating the really repetitive and redundant tasks. So why this automated import is so good is because if you can use some sort of Excel import, which a lot of these software is already having inbuilt, you can use this to take advantage of this and translate the data from other software to your own FileMaker database and run your operation in there. So that's one very important thing that you can do to really help smooth out your FileMaker implementation process to your business. So let's get into our tutorial. I just want to give you a very quick overview of what we're going to do. So basically, the workflow in this tutorial is something like this. So let's say we have an external source of data, maybe another software, or maybe another company. And on this side, we have our FileMaker database. So what this external source of data is going to do is that they're going to send you some sort of Excel exported data, and you're going to save it into your computer desktop. On the FileMaker hand, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a one-click button that when we click onto it, the data within this file will be automatically synced into our FileMaker database. And we are also going to do two things when we're doing that. Number one, we're going to check if the data is new or not. If the data here is not inside this FileMaker database yet, we are going to create a new FileMaker record. And number two, if the data within this Excel file, it's already in our FileMaker database, we are not going to create a new record, but instead, we are going to update our existing record. So that's the workflow that we are working on today, and let's get into the database. Okay, and we are back to the working desktop. So I think the first thing I want to do is to show you a quick tour of this exercise file I'm working on. basically, this is a very simple list view layout with an ID, first name, last name, gender, email, and phone. It's pretty straightforward, and I also included a import button in here that we are going to apply a script later on. So let's get started. Now, first thing I want to show you is to show you how to manually import data using the native FileMaker import feature. So if I show you in here now, we have an Excel number 1 Excel spreadsheet. If I open it right now, you are going to see I have a very simple Excel with 10 records in here with the people's name, email, gender, phone, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is that I want to import these information into my database, and I can press File, Import Record, and File in here. And I want to select Excel number 1, that's the name. And this import dialog box will appear. Basically, what it means is that on the left side is the Excel file that I'm targeting. And on the right side is my current layout table, which is the contact table. Now, what I need to do next is to match these fields, match the fields in the Excel to this contact database. Now, because they are sharing the exact same name, so these are all matched already. So what I want to do is that, let me show you, I want to add a new record, and I don't want to take this just yet. And if I import now, you're going to see that in here, that my first record is actually a text. It's a first name, last name, gender, email, and phone. Now, pretty much the problem is because just now I haven't checked the don't import first record. And so in some case, your Excel might not, the first record of your Excel might be a header. So you want to check that option to not import that part. So if I quickly just delete all the records in here, go to import record again, Excel number 1, this time I'm going to check don't import first record. So when I do that, you will see that this time it's not importing the first row into my database. So I have 10 records in here, Blaine, Florence, Herbert, etc., etc. So that's the first step. Now, it's pretty insignificant because it's a pretty simple importing feature. Now, what I want to show you next, it's a little more advanced version of the same thing. So let me open Excel number 2. So if I open Excel number 2 right now, you will see that Excel number 2 shares very similar data with Excel number 1. Blaine, Florence, Herbert, etc., etc. But this time, I have updated some information within this data source. So for example, Blaine at changedemail.com, Florence at changedemail.com. I'm just making this up to make it more obvious that I've changed something. And additionally, number 6, it used to call Daryl, now it's called Darren. Number 8, her last name used to be something I can't pronounce. In here, it's called Edward. And additionally, I also have an 11th record, which is called Sunny Chu. So we should be able to take all these data, update these information, and add one additional record into our database using the same import feature. So let's go into our file again, and let's maybe move this aside just a little bit like this. What we're going to do is to go to import record, and we're going to target Excel number 2. So again, we are back to this very familiar database import layout. What we want to do this time is to click Update Matching Record in Found Set. And since all of these are already set up, what I need to do is to just click Import. But before I click that, just know that it's going to pop up an error. Let's see what happens. At least one pair of matching field must be specified for the Update Matching Record option. So what does it mean by matching fields? Basically, if I look into here now, ID, what I can do is I can make the ID, click into this arrow button, it's going to turn into a two-sided arrow. So what that means is I'm making the ID field the matching field. Now, on the back-end level, what's going to happen is that when I import this Excel into my FileMaker database, when it goes to Blaine's record, which is ID number 1, since this is the matching field, it's going to try and match this ID with any existing record in my database. Now, when it sees number 1 in here, which matches with this number 1, it's going to identify that these two records are actually the same record, but not a new record. So what it's going to do instead next time is that it's going to update whatever it's updated within these fields into our database record. So let's see what happens in here. Go back to import record, Excel number 2. Make sure I match this with a two-sided arrow. Sorry, I have to click onto update matching record first. Make sure that this is a two-sided arrow and other fields are all matched perfectly. And when I click import now, what you will notice is that the information within our database has now updated to this new information type in here. Blaine at changetheemail.com, Florence has changetheemail.com, and if we go to number 6, Darren, and also number 8, Edward. So the updating part is working well. Now, if we look into here, we only have 10 records in here, and we have 11 records in this new list. So that means that one record in here hasn't been added. So how do I do that? Now go back to the import record page, and here, what I want to check is this option here, add remaining data as new record. Now when I click onto this, click import, it's going to update my other record that it can't find a match, so it's not able to match these. So this is number 11. The computer finds that number 11 doesn't exist on my database. It's not able to be matched, so it's just going to automatically create a new record for me with this matching number in here. So that's the basics and the most common use case of how you're going to use the import feature. Now, we are not going to stop here because we want to create an automated import option. So what we're going to do next is that we are going to start building this import button. And here is the scenario that we're going to work on. So let's assume that Excel number 1 is something you download from your other software or some other company send you externally. So let's say you create a copy of Excel number 1, and let's rename this to let's call target.xlsx, like this. And what this target is going to do is that when I name this file the target, I want to create a script on my FileMaker side to target this specific file name and import whatever is inside it into my FileMaker. So how am I going to do that? So let's go into my script workspace, and we are going to create a new FileMaker script. And let's call this the import script, and I am going to apply this script into our button here. So let's double click onto this and select our new script. And let's save this and make sure that we are targeting our new import script. So in FileMaker, there's this script called, let me start typing, import records. And what it's going to do, it's pretty much the same thing as the import record option in here, but now you can put it into a script and have it done automatically based on your preference. So here's what I mean. Now I have applied this button with the script. So when I click onto it, it's going to ask me which file I want to target, and then it's going to do pretty much the same thing just now. So what I want to do is that I want to take this target file and import it into my system, because that's my goal. So I want to have some way to specify that I only want to target this specific target.xlsx file. So in here, we have an option to specify the data source that we are choosing. So if I click onto this right now, it will require me to type in an address. Now, what I want to do instead is that I want to make import record step number 2, and in step number 1, I want to create a set variable. Let's call this the file address, file_address, and I want to specify this as a calculation, and let me just show you in here. So basically I have saved down the path that I should be setting. Basically this is my computer desktop path, Macintosh XD /user/sunny/desktop and /target.xlsx. Now this part is going to be different for everybody because depending on the computer setup that you have a different desktop path. But basically this is the path that I'm going to be using, and I'm just going to add 2 quotes into here to indicate to the computer that this is a text. So now that I have saved the address onto the file address variable, I want to apply this variable into my import records. So if I click here now, specify data source, and I can type in file address, and so this import record script, it's going to automatically target this address without asking me which file I want to target. So click OK, save this, and let's go back to our page here. And this time when I click import, it's going to automatically target my target.xlsx without asking me which file to use. So I think we are working well for the first step. Now the next thing what I want to do is that I want to specify the import option, specify the import order. When I click onto it, you will notice something strange here. There's no fields in here because FileMaker don't know when you're creating a script, FileMaker doesn't know which specific file you're targeting just yet. So we need to set up these matching field beforehand. Now, but how do we set up the matching field when we can't even see the fields in our Excel file? And it basically follows a very simple rule. So if I open this file, it's basically following a super simple rule. Basically, this is the first column in the Excel. It's going to match with this first row in this dialog. The second column in here, it's going to match with this one here. Third column here, same thing, match with this row. Now it doesn't matter if I change this name to something like this or something like this or something like this. If I set it up the database in here using this format, it's going to apply the second row and target it to the first name because number 2 and number 2. It's pretty straightforward. So now that I have set this up, click OK. And what I want to do is I want to turn off the dialog so it doesn't shows up that dialog box when I click onto this button. So close this, and let's try this. Let me just quickly remove all the records inside my file set. And when I click import, you can see that it's able to automatically take data from my target.xlsx and translate it into my FileMaker database. So that's step 1. Now, let's do another scenario. Delete this existing target.xlsx file, and we're going to copy from Excel number 2 this time, with like the change the email and also change the name and also my new record. So in here, I'm going to change my new Excel file's name. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to change this file name to target.xlsx. And what this is going to do is that now, although it's the same name, but there's updated information in there. So I'm kind of making up the hypothetical situation where you download another newer version of the Excel and name it the same thing and save it on the desktop. Now this time, have a very careful look at these emails here. When I click import, you will notice that the data is automatically updated into my database without having me to do anything. And you can see in here, Sunny Chu has been added to the mix as well. So that is basically it of how you can create an automated import script. Now, of course, additionally, you can also make this a little bit more responsive by maybe creating a show custom dialog here that says import completed, like this, so that when people click onto it, they know they did an import action instead of just having the data updated without saying anything. So this time, let's say I delete all the file record I have, and when I click import again, it says import completed, click OK, 11 records in there with all the updated information. So that will conclude this particular tutorial. Now, if you want to download this file that I have in here, it's not super complicated, but maybe you want to reverse engineer what I did in here, you can download the file in the link in the description down below. And in there, you will also see other resources that is very suitable for FileMaker beginners. And that's basically it for this tutorial. And I guess I will see you on the next one.